everyone, this is Tony from Her Homestead Skills, and I guess today I'm just going to talk a little bit about the issue of food shortages and price increases that we are all experiencing everywhere. So it appears to me that one of the things that we can do to protect ourselves from the oncoming price increases is to stock up today. And from what I've been seeing, many people have different ideas on how to store food that you're going to stock long term. And long term is a comment that people use to describe 10 to 20 years, 3 years, 5 years. So one has to determine how long you want to stock food for, and then determine what the best method of storing that food for that time period is. I'm not a believer in stocking food for 10 to 20 years. Number one, I don't have the space. Number two, I don't really know what the quality of food that has been stored that long is going to be like. I understand that there are many people that think that you can do it. And yes, for items like beans and rice, they just get a little bit drier, I suppose, but it's still pretty much the same. They're dried ingredients to begin with. So on a personal level, I call long-term 3 years. And to me, short-term is the season. So I have been taught to preserve food from season to season to season. And a season might be 18 months rather than 12 because you want to make sure that you have some stock before the next season rolls around. And it could extend as much as 24 months just in case you do have a bad year. So I may, from my way of thinking, I may want to stock certain foods for 2 years. So to me, long term would be 3 years plus. And there are some items that I'm quite willing to stock for 3 years plus. There is nothing in my mind that I want to stock for 10 years. I don't know that I want my children to have to clean up a 20-year stockpile of food should something happen to me, and I'm not exactly 20 years old anymore. So I don't really see stocking food for 20 years as something viable for me. That doesn't mean that it isn't viable for you, and it doesn't mean that that's not what you should be doing if that's what you feel is appropriate for your circumstances and your situation. So, as I said, everyone has different ideas on what foods to stock, how to stock it, and the length of term that they want to stock the foods for. So, my big thing is stocking long-term for your dry goods and perhaps canned goods. Now, canned goods are something that I have not spent any time on because I personally don't buy a lot of canned goods. I don't buy canned vegetables, I don't buy canned soups, except maybe the odd one here or there. I do buy condensed milk, I do buy canned tuna. So there are a few things that I buy in canned goods, and I try to make sure that I have ample stock of that. So it's mainly in the fish area because I don't have the ability to can fish, say tuna, salmon, anchovies for pizza. We like anchovies. So things of that nature is what I would stock in canned goods myself. And a few other things. I think I have to check around to see what I need to stock up there. The other thing, of course, is your oils. And unfortunately, your oils and your butters and that really don't last long term. I don't care what they say. You can do whatever you want to them. They don't last long term. Butter, I tend to freeze. And that keeps it as long as I can get it. Now, the way I buy butter is I wait for the sales and I'll buy 4, 5, 6, 7 pounds of butter depending on what I have in stock and when the last time the last sale price came around. It's the same thing with oils. Now, I used to buy the cans of oils, and then I found that over the years they have made the bottles more cost effective than the cans. So rather than paying $24 for a 3-liter can of oil, I could get it for $5 or $6. Well, nowadays it's closer to $6 a bottle for 1 liter. So I do buy them by the bottle now, just because I don't have to refill and I don't have to deal with that. On the other hand, you're throwing away more bottles than what you would be otherwise. But these things are recyclable as well. So your oils and your fats are something to consider. Another thing we keep a lot of in-house is soy sauce. And soy sauce is another one of those things that they say lasts forever, and it probably does until you open it. And once you open the bottle, it does not keep its fresh flavor for a long time. It should be refrigerated at that point and then used up as, fairly quickly. And we tend to use a lot of soy sauce with rice. And yes, we eat white rice. We don't eat the brown rice. And I understand that the brown rice is healthier and all of that, but that's just our diet. And so be it. That's the way we eat. And once again, the pastas, the dried pastas are another thing that is easy to store, but it's very bulky, so it does take up a lot of space. One thing I am considering doing fairly soon, and that would be to take a lot of fresh vegetables, and perhaps the ones that I grow, and dehydrating them. And once they're dehydrating, certain ones will be turned into powders. I'll probably try to make more powders than I have ever made in the past. I started doing that with spinach and I liked the result. Amazing how all this spinach you can put into one little jar and use almost the same as you would if it was fresh or just dehydrated. So like I've used it in mixing it with pasta to make a spinach pasta, which is really healthy for you. The other thing is that I could use it as a filling for cannellonis or ravioli. I don't make ravioli too much, it's a lot of work. But the cannellonis are pretty easy to make, and mixing spinach with the cheese makes a really nice filling. Another one that I'm a little bit excited about doing, and we can do that any time of the year, is a carrot powder. Carrots are available year-round here. And I have tried to grow them, but not terribly successfully. You need a very nice, loose soil for that, and the soil that I have is very hard clay. So it makes it a little bit difficult to grow things like carrots, root crops in particular. But it's cheap enough to buy. And things like carrots, potatoes, and onions are not terribly costly. So the other thing I'm doing is looking at growing the vegetables that have gone up in price by a fair bit. Cauliflower is one of those items. I think the last time I priced cauliflower, it was $5 a head. And I mentioned that to Mark because he started to want to substitute cauliflower or potatoes for cauliflower. And I told him I'm going to try and grow some just because of the cost. And his feeling was that, well, they should go down in price over the summer, but that may or may not happen. This year, who knows? So I like to grow things that hopefully, successfully, that are a little more costly, and things that I use. It's pointless to grow things just for fun, although it's lovely to have flowers. You do want some flowers in your garden. Anyway, I still highly recommend that everyone look to their own special circumstances and determine what their family's needs are and what their family's eating habits are, and see what you can do about it now. Meat is another one of those things that they claim there's going to be a shortage of, and with the culling of the chickens because of the avian flu or whatever it is that they've got again this year, there could be a shortage of eggs and chickens now. Unfortunately, some of us can't grow our own chickens and don't have our own eggs, so we have to rely on the stores. And I suspect that what will happen, although there will be a shortage, it will probably result more in a price increase in the items that are left. So shortage, yes, but maybe few people are buying, or some people are buying a lot less of these items because they've gotten too costly. So that is one way, I suppose, that they deal with shortages. Now, I myself feel that I'm pretty much done stocking, except for what I would add on a weekly basis. I may be wrong. I may turn around and decide that there are a number of other things. As I said, I haven't really checked my canned goods yet. Although, once again, I don't buy a lot of canned goods. I tend to can a lot of my own foods. Okay, so growing a garden is probably another one of those things that maybe you want to attempt for the first time. Maybe you've never gardened before. I can assure you, even a new gardener can have tremendous success, and an experienced one have lots of failures. So I would not let the fact that you've never gardened before stand in your way. It is a very rewarding activity. It is amazing to plant this little granule of seed and watch it grow into a plant, and then be able to harvest and either enjoy a flower or the fruit and vegetables of your labor. It's pretty amazing, actually. There's a lot to be learned about life through the garden. It's amazing to watch how some plants are very tenacious and hang on in spite of every adversity. Whether it's the rabbits gnawing on them, or you not watering them properly, or not looking after them properly, and yet they still survive. And other ones that are so delicate that no matter how much care you give them, they don't. So, yes, gardening is very interesting. This is Tony from her Homestead Skills. I hope you enjoyed this little video. And yes, I did get a haircut, and she did cut it just a little bit too short, but I can't fault the woman. She did what I asked her to, so it's my fault. I kept telling her short, short, short. So, yeah, another little bit more, another half an inch would have been, I would have been happier with, but half an inch grows pretty quick for me, so it's a non-issue. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this little video, and we will catch you on the next one. Have a great day.